That was an absolutely wonderful oration, and I'd like to thank the Governor very much for her inspirational words. Before I just want to make a couple of reflections after what you said before I start on what I had been planning to say. But first of all, the idea of Felton and his interest in us having a good public taste actually is borne out by our vital signs research that shows that 95% of Greater Melburnians participate in arts and cultural events, which is pretty fantastic. So that's one of the sort of fabrics of our Melbourne community. So, I mean, what a legacy. And I also felt that I hadn't really mentioned Sir John Swanson, who actually was the Lord Mayor at the time and founded our Lord Mayor's Charitable Foundation. And that was another wonderful example of collective giving and people all donating all across Melbourne to support the hospitals and the health services after World War I. He was a wonderful man. He was our first bequestor, actually. So he died not all that long after we were set up. And we received the first bequest from him. And then since then, we've also had many wonderful bequests from all sorts of people in Melbourne. And I mean, that's the sort of wonderful thing about community foundations, is that it is about everyone being a philanthropist. But our largest bequests have been from Arthur Martin and from Eldon Foote, QC. So they're three people that I would like to acknowledge as part of the foundation's history. And I have to say, in terms of the Murdoch Children's Research Institute, on a personal note, my eldest son has just finished his honours thesis and has done his project there at the Children's. So having listened to his speech 7 times last Sunday, I think I could almost have passed. So the theme of our annual report is transitions. Each year we think of a word that captures the times we are in, and then we reflect on what this means for community philanthropy. At a societal level, there are several major transitions taking place around us. In order to remain relevant in fast-changing times, the Foundation needs to understand these transitions and what they mean for our community and the charitable organisations that we support. The first transition I want to mention is the changing world of work. I recently attended the Social Enterprise World Forum in Christchurch alongside social enterprise leaders and funders from all over the world. There are about 1,500 of us there in a sad city, really, that is trying to rebuild itself after the earthquakes. I found a lot to think about in a session called The New World of Work, which included research by the Foundation for Young Australians and others. At our own foundation, we have been aware of this changing world of work, especially due to the so-called mega forces of automation, globalisation and increasing flexibility. We know that employers will be looking for people with creative thinking, problem-solving, digital literacy, bilingual, entrepreneurial and communication skills. And these are new skills that people, they're existing skills, but new important skills that people and young people will need to have, and older people as they reskill. Workers will often need to manage their own careers and are likely to have many jobs in their lifetimes. They will have a growing bag of skills that can be applied in many different settings. A quote that I heard at the conference to summarise this transition is, "Goodbye to the linear world of work." And I think we need to think about that carefully. So knowing this context, this year we have funded a range of innovative education and employment projects. I just wanted to mention a couple. The first is the Australian Centre for Rural Entrepreneurship up in Beechworth. And we'd already given them an innovation grant in the past for their social enterprise in schools program, but they came to us because they had an ambitious idea of buying the Beechworth jail to create it as a hub for social enterprise really in the whole of Victoria. So if you haven't been there, I'm sure they'll be inviting you soon. We gave them a grant of $250,000 to help purchase the jail, and once they've actually got that all in place, they're going to use our funds to then expand the social enterprise program in Melbourne. We also funded Per Capita for their Money for Jam program, which is about creating opportunities for women over 55 to reskill or use their skills in a different way to create self-employment opportunities. This is going extremely well and is tackling an issue which is a really great concern to me, including in our homeless and housing area, which is helping fight the poverty experienced by older women in old age. This is a growing issue. Another transition that we're in is the big transition to a digital world. This is affecting all our lives, and there are risks if we do not maintain a culture of sharing and open access to data. Dr. Lucy Bernholtz from Stanford Centre for Philanthropy and Civil Society raised these issues and is working very hard on them. She mentioned it in her annual blueprint report at the end of last year, if any of you are interested. On a positive note, there are wonderful opportunities to address many social challenges using digital tools. And in preparing for this talk, I went back over the annual report and thought, what did we... I felt like we'd funded a lot of digital transformations, but I thought, what did we actually fund? And I just pulled out 5. So the River Nile School, the Climate Council, Western Chances, Channel 31 and 3MBS Community Radio and others were all funded for projects that relate to digital transformation. We're also the first funder of Gather My Crew, which is an online rostering tool that uses new technology to enable people to get help through tough times, including recovering from traumas and disasters. It allows people to gather or ask for practical help you need from your friends, your crew members, and lets the crew decide when and how they can help. Gather My Crew is free and easy to use, and it has had a huge take-up already. So I'm very proud that we were the first funders, and they just brought the idea to us, and we could see the potential. There is also transition taking place within business. Social enterprises are blossoming around the world. Some are for-profit and some are not-for-profit, but they are all applying business principles for social purpose. Many are providing employment opportunities to people who need a chance in life. We have funded not-for-profit social enterprises through the grants program, but also 2 for-profit social enterprises, Higher Up and Yumi, through our investment portfolio as impact investments. In terms of the grants, you stole my thunder. We funded Fitted for Work She Works Enterprise, alongside obviously the Helen McPherson Smith Trust, to expand this enterprise, which they trialled using a contract they had with Yarra Trams to place older women as tram drivers, and that was brilliantly successful. So they thought the experience they have encouraging women to go back into the workforce and learn all the skills they need to get those roles, they can use as a commercial enterprise, which will then fund some of their work with more disadvantaged people. So that's been great. The Kids Undercover Studio Enterprise, we also funded them to pilot. So some of you would know they have studios where people, young people mainly, who are at risk of homelessness, they actually fund studios into people's back gardens so that there's more space for them and they can stay at home or live with other families. So we actually allowed them funding to trial the studio program as a commercial arm. So there are a lot of other people who are interested in using the land they might have, spare bit of land at the back, to buy a studio. So this is actually also going really well. So that's been very positive. And we funded Swinburne, the Centre for Social Impact, to undertake the Social Enterprise Impact Lab project, which is just getting going, which is assisting social enterprises to measure and share the impact of their work. It was a real highlight for me to support 6 social enterprise leaders to join Alec and I at the Social Enterprise World Forum. There was so much knowledge to share and so many networks to build. So I just wanted to list the 6 that came with us. They're all ones we funded and that we really believe in. Good Cycles, Outer Urban Projects that were here, Sky Design, Melbourne Support Services, Able Bakehouse, Earthworker and the Community Grocer, all operating in different areas, in different parts of our granting. Government is also doing things differently in the social enterprise space. Social procurement requirements are now part of many major contracts. For example, the Victorian Government requires that 3% of the supply chain on the level crossing removal projects, and I live near one so I know about this intimately, must comprise social enterprises, Indigenous businesses or direct employment of people from disadvantaged backgrounds. John Holland were introduced by social traders, who we've supported over many years, as some of you know, to try youth a social enterprise, to create site sheds and a community centre. And this has been so successful that this relationship is continuing. We're working on a broader initiative in this area, looking at ways we can support more social enterprises to be contract ready for social procurement opportunities. And Alex has been having conversations with social traders and SVA about this. The lines between granting and investment are also in transition. I now find myself thinking that I'm really a social investor. I'm not really a grant person anymore. We have to think, should this really be a grant? Someone said to me recently, the philanthropic grant is the most valuable money there is. Should it be a grant, or should it be an impact investment, or could it be a program-related investment? So we've been having this conversation as we develop a number of projects, one around affordable housing and also one around increasing energy efficiency in buildings owned by charitable organisations. So in the project around energy efficiency, the Alternative Technology Association has just announced an opportunity for 50 more charitable organisations to have energy audits and plans undertaken, and we're funding this after a pilot last year with 9. So we're also looking at the funding mechanisms with that. And the Affordable Challenge, and there's a couple of you involved in this in the room, which we are leading, is an Affordable Housing Challenge, which we're leading, and it is an example of a diverse group of people from many sectors, from philanthropy, business, government and academia, coming together to use their skills and knowledge to tackle a tough problem. We are now working on site selection, and new work on site selection criteria and housing affordability definitions has been undertaken by Transforming Housing Partnership at the University of Melbourne. And Matt Palm is here. He's been doing this amazing work. We've poached him from California now, so he's now at Melbourne Uni, to support the challenge, and also this work has been of great use to the Victorian Government. We'll be announcing a grant opportunity of $1 million and an impact investment opportunity via CEFA of $2 million in around a month's time, and we're hoping to really attract some creative proposals. As a community, we're also in transition towards a low-carbon future. One of the most important pieces of work the Foundation has supported over the last few years has been Foodprint, mapping Melbourne's food bowl. In Melbourne and the peri-urban fringe, we have the capacity to grow 41% of our food and 82% of our fruit and vegetables. So this is something worth protecting, and we need to recycle water and protect our most valuable farming land. We've also supported other sustainable food system projects, and one that is quite dear to my heart is Cultivating Community, where we've supported the expansion of their community food centres into 19 social housing estates, and we're lucky to have Costa Georgiadis from Gardening Australia speak as an ambassador for us on our appeal relating to that. I can't be here near the Yarra and not talk about probably one of the most important projects we funded this year, which was called the Let's Act for the Yarra project. It was led by Environmental Justice Australia and the Yarra Riverkeeper Association, and it took the community and community organisations alongside the state government's legislative process to give them a voice as the legislation was drafted. We heard from EJA and the Yarra Riverkeeper recently, and it really is a groundbreaking piece of legislation in terms of environmental protection in Australia. And as we look out at Birrarung, which is the Indigenous name for the Yarra, which actually means river of mists and shadows, I think it's a perfect a day for us to experience that. And thinking back to Linda's comments about what you do in your younger days, in my 20s as a young lawyer, I did the voluntary work for the EGA to get their tax deductible status, so I sort of have a soft spot for them. The digital world is also creating changes in giving. We now have what is known as the social donor, who want to use online tools. So alongside everyone else, we have also begun a digital transformation. We've increased our own digital capability with a responsive website, a new Microsoft Dynamics CRM system, and our own wonderful in-house graphic designer, Glenida. Some of the key objectives of these projects are about engaging people, sharing knowledge, and meeting donors' ever-growing expectations for online giving. But despite these online opportunities, people also want authentic experiences in philanthropy. So we're very proud to continue to support the Lady Mayoress Committee and Impact 100 and Melbourne Women's Fund. We're the back office for those giving circles, and we're also establishing 4 giving circles related to our impact areas this year, so we'd love to hear from you if anyone would like to take part in those. Youth in Philanthropy had another big year with 22 schools taking part, learning all about granting, social needs and community leadership. I love being a mentor, and quite a few of the board and staff are mentors to those schools. As our chair mentioned earlier, this has been a year of transition for the foundation because we have a replacement act. The act passed through both houses of Parliament, and when it passed through the upper house we went to watch, and it was, well, actually both times we went to watch, but it was absolutely wonderful. Poor Suzanne was in tears. I had to guide her back to the office. But it was passed with bipartisan support, and there were so many lovely things said about the Foundation's contribution over 94 years that it's one of those few moments where Hansard's really, really worth reading carefully, every word. Following the launch of Vital Signs earlier this month, I'm pleased to let you know we're now going to launch Vital Conversations. So this is an important part of the Vital Signs project, and it aims to bring people together to continue the dialogue and debate about how we can make lasting and positive change. So we invite you to provide your thoughts about what you believe makes a healthy and resilient community. There are 2 opportunities. You can talk to YouthWorks, who are filming. YouthWorks is also a great social enterprise down there. And also write on the art boards at the back of the room. In a moment, we will show you our new campaign, Changing Melbourne for Good. This captures who we are as a foundation, tackling current challenges but with a face to the future. And I'd like to thank Andrew and Publicis for their significant pro bono support to the creative work for this project. I just wanted briefly to mention 3 big building projects we've supported that are also in transition in terms of being built. One is the redevelopment of Ozanam House, which is now underway. The other is the Education Centre at the Ioneer Hospital, which has also started, and the other one is the Contemporary Arts Precinct in Collingwood, which is also well underway. So it's been a good year for a bit of action on that front. Some of those projects take years to sort of conceive and develop. So as I wrote this speech, I asked myself a question. As our community goes through these transitions, is philanthropy content to simply watch the change, or should we be helping shape the future and make sure that we have future-ready institutions, especially to ensure that people who are already disadvantaged are not doubly disadvantaged by any of these changes, or that new groups do not inadvertently miss out? The answer is yes. As the Community Foundation for Melbourne, we have a role to play in supporting a just and sustainable path through these transitions. And finally, I would like to thank the Governor and Mr Howard for joining us today and for that fantastic oration. We greatly appreciate you taking time from your busy schedule. I'd like to thank the board, my team, our donors and partners for all making a really big difference this year. Thank you for attending our celebration, and please join us for morning tea. You never know, there might be some new collaborative opportunities awaiting you. Thank you.